I met Bernie years and years ago when I used to have a golf tournament down in Bermuda. And Bernie was the highlight of my comedy give to you. And Bernie, unlike me, I get angry about it.
They sit on the side, ooh, that's funny. Next thing you know, you see it on HBO or something, you be sitting at home, that shit mine, you know? But ain't nobody gonna believe you. First come, first.
Where did I meet you? Tell me first thing I said to you.
I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry.
If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview.
Samuel L. Jackson and Katt Williams just put Marjorie Harvey on full blast, and the claims coming out are seriously wild. For years, people saw Marjorie as the calm and classy woman standing beside Steve Harvey, smiling at events and keeping things polished in public. But now, new accusations are painting a totally different picture. According to people close to the drama, Marjorie allegedly had way more control behind the scenes than anyone realized, and some believe she was secretly influencing major decisions in Steve's personal and professional life for years. One of the biggest rumors making noise right now is the claim that Marjorie may have played a role in damaging Steve's relationship with legendary comedian Bernie Mac before Bernie passed away. Fans have talked for years about tension between the two comedy giants, but now some people are pointing fingers at Marjorie, saying she allegedly helped create distance and mistrust between them. None of this has been confirmed publicly, but the accusations alone have people online going crazy and digging back into old interviews and stories. Katt Williams especially has been calling out powerful people in Hollywood lately, exposing what he believes are fake friendships and hidden agendas inside the entertainment business. And now Marjorie's name keeps getting pulled into those conversations. Katt has hinted that certain celebrity wives and insiders have more influence than people think, and many viewers believe he was indirectly talking about situations connected to Steve and Marjorie. Samuel L. Jackson's name getting attached to the discussion only added more fuel because fans know he usually stays far away from messy celebrity drama. But things get even more intense when Steve Harvey's ex-wife, Mary Harvey, enters the story. Mary has publicly accused Marjorie of manipulating family relationships behind closed doors. According to Mary, Marjorie allegedly convinced Steve to distance his own son from his biological mother. The accusation shocked a lot of people because family issues like that hit way deeper than regular celebrity gossip. Mary claimed the situation was all about power, influence, and protecting Steve Harvey's fortune. She suggested that Marjorie wanted complete control over Steve's inner circle and finances, though these claims remain heavily disputed. Social media exploded after those accusations resurfaced, with people debating whether Marjorie was unfairly being blamed or whether there was truth hiding behind the headlines. Some fans defended her immediately, saying successful women always get targeted online when they marry rich celebrities. Others pointed to the long list of rumors surrounding her past and said there may be more going on than the public knows. And then comes the part of Marjorie's history that keeps shocking people every time it gets brought up. Before marrying Steve Harvey, Marjorie reportedly had relationships with two men who were later connected to major criminal activity and drug trafficking cases. That part of her past has followed her for years, even though she herself has never been convicted of any crimes connected to those situations. Still, critics online continue bringing it up, claiming her past relationships raise serious questions. The internet has been digging through old photos, court rumors, and interviews trying to connect all the dots, and the deeper people look, the messier the story becomes. Some believe Marjorie is simply a woman being dragged through nonstop internet gossip because of her celebrity status. Others think there's a carefully hidden side to the Harvey family image that's finally starting to crack open in public. Either way, Samuel L. Jackson and Katt Williams mentioning her name has turned this whole situation into a massive conversation online. People are now questioning old Hollywood friendships, family loyalty, and whether power behind the scenes matters more than what fans see on television. And judging by how fast these rumors are spreading, this drama is nowhere close to slowing down.
You always carry yourself like a lady. Being a lady never goes out of style.
The Bernie Mac situation is becoming one of the most talked about parts of this entire drama, and people online are seriously questioning what really happened behind the scenes. For years, fans loved seeing Steve Harvey and Bernie Mac together during the Kings of Comedy era. They looked like brothers on stage, making millions laugh and building one of the biggest comedy tours ever. But according to stories resurfacing now, the relationship between them may not have been nearly as friendly as it seemed in public. Rumors about tension between Steve and Bernie have floated around for a long time, but recently things got way more intense after new claims started spreading online. Some insiders and bloggers are now accusing Steve of allegedly trying to damage Bernie Mac's career during key moments in Hollywood. The allegations claim Steve may have used industry connections to compete against Bernie behind closed doors and possibly block certain opportunities from reaching him. None of these accusations have been officially proven, but fans are shocked at how many old stories are suddenly lining up together. What makes this situation even more emotional is how Steve Harvey has spoken about Bernie Mac over the years. After Bernie passed away in 2008, Steve publicly cried while talking about him and often described Bernie as family. That's why people are confused now. Some fans feel the love Steve showed after Bernie's death looked genuine, while others think the friendship may have been way more complicated than anyone realized. Social media users are even revisiting old interviews, looking for moments where tension may have slipped through the cracks. Then Marjorie Harvey's name started getting attached to the conversation, and that's when things really exploded online. According to some rumors, Marjorie allegedly influenced Steve during periods when his relationship with Bernie was rocky. A few people close to the comedy world have hinted that personal advice and private conversations behind the scenes may have added pressure to already existing competition between the comedians. Again, none of this has been verified publicly, but fans are paying attention because the timing of these stories feels suspicious to many people. The comedy business has always been known for huge egos, secret rivalries, and quiet battles over money and fame. During the Kings of Comedy years, Steve, Bernie, Cedric, the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley were all huge stars trying to stay on top at the same time. People close to the entertainment industry say competition back then was intense, especially when careers started moving into television and movies. Some fans now believe the pressure may have damaged friendships that once seemed solid. Katt Williams adding fuel to the conversation made everything even louder. Katt has spent months exposing what he believes are fake relationships and hidden manipulation inside Hollywood circles. While he didn't directly lay out every detail about Steve and Bernie, many viewers connected the dots themselves after hearing certain comments about betrayal, jealousy, and people secretly trying to control careers behind the scenes. The internet immediately started digging deeper into old rumors that had almost been forgotten. One thing people keep bringing up is how different Bernie Mac's personality was compared to Steve's public image. Bernie was known for raw, loud, and completely unapologetic, while Steve built a cleaner, polished television brand over time. Some fans think those differences may have naturally caused friction as both men became bigger celebrities. Others believe there may have been personal resentment over who got more opportunities or respect in Hollywood. Now, people are questioning everything they thought they knew about that era of comedy. Old clips, backstage interviews, and even body language from years ago are suddenly being analyzed like detective evidence online. Some viewers think this is just another case of the internet turning rumors into drama for clicks, but others believe there's a hidden story that still hasn't fully come out yet. Either way, the Bernie Mac conversation has opened a giant debate about loyalty, fame, and what really happens behind the curtain in Hollywood friendships.
Bernie Mac always said he walked alone. I don't think he was walking alone at all. I think Bernie was walking with Jesus the whole time. I just hope Jesus.
The situation got even messier when people started bringing up Bernie Mac's own words from years ago, because Bernie didn't stay quiet about the problems he allegedly had with Steve Harvey. Back in 2003, Bernie sat down with GQ magazine and openly talked about feeling like Steve was jealous of his success. That interview has now resurfaced online, and fans are reading every line differently after all these recent accusations started spreading. According to the GQ article, Bernie claimed someone connected to Steve's team allegedly contacted director Steven Soderbergh during the casting process for Ocean's 11 and tried to push Steve for the role instead of Bernie. That detail shocked a lot of people because Ocean's 11 became one of Bernie's biggest Hollywood projects. The idea that someone may have tried to interfere behind the scenes added a whole new layer to the old rumors about rivalry inside the comedy world. When GQ asked Bernie how he reacted after hearing about it, he stayed calm but clearly sounded disappointed with how Hollywood operates. Bernie said, "The Hollywood game that we are in, it's a cold game." Fans now say that quote hits harder than ever because it sounded like Bernie already understood how fake and competitive the entertainment industry could become once fame and money entered the picture. Bernie also made it clear he didn't want to turn the situation into a public war. He said, "When they told me about it, what could I do? I'm not going to sling mud. I'm not a rapper. I tell jokes. I try to make people laugh." That line stood out to many fans because Bernie seemed focused on protecting his peace instead of chasing revenge or feeding drama. Even while discussing betrayal, he still kept his cool and refused to completely tear Steve down in public. But Bernie definitely didn't hold back completely. He also criticized Steve's ego and pointed to moments from the Kings of Comedy tour that allegedly bothered him. Bernie said, "Go back and look at the Kings of Comedy tapes. Whenever he introduced his buddy, Cedric the Entertainer, it was all about himself." That quote sparked huge debate online because fans immediately started revisiting old footage to see if they could notice the same energy Bernie described. Then Bernie added another cold line that people are still repeating today. He said, "Did it piss me off? Nah, you can't piss me off. You ain't that good." That statement alone had social media going wild because it sounded like Bernie was completely dismissing Steve's influence over him. Some fans viewed it as confidence, while others saw it as proof that their friendship had already fallen apart by that point. As Bernie's career grew, he slowly stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight and focused more on family life. In the same interview, he explained that the entertainment business no longer felt worth the stress and fake relationships. Bernie said, "There wasn't anything for me out there," before adding, "I had the best right here at home," referring to his wife and daughter. Many fans now look back at those words emotionally because Bernie seemed tired of the games happening behind the scenes in Hollywood. Years later, Steve Harvey responded publicly to Bernie's comments in a 2010 interview with Ed Gordon. Steve denied trying to sabotage Bernie and claimed he was hurt by the accusations. Steve said, "I was upset at first because it just wasn't true." He also suggested the GQ article exaggerated the situation and made things sound worse than they really were. But critics quickly pointed out something important. GQ directly quoted Bernie throughout the interview, meaning Bernie likely approved those statements before publication. That's why some people believe Steve's response sounded more like damage control than clarification. The debate only grew louder as more comedians started speaking up about old industry politics. Comedian Corey Holcomb recently added even more controversy to the conversation when he publicly criticized Steve Harvey's rise in comedy. Corey claimed Steve was never as naturally talented as Bernie Mac or Cedric the Entertainer, and suggested Steve allegedly benefited from strong industry connections and relationships with powerful producers. Those comments reignited the old rivalry discussion all over again and pushed fans deeper into questioning what really happened behind closed doors during the Kings of Comedy era.
They used to let Steve Harvey be the headliner of the Kings of Comedy. They used to let Steve Harvey was the headliner because at the time he was having the most, he was the most famous.
Right.
But he was bombing too many nights coming behind DL, Sid, and Bernie. They had to make him the host. But Steve Harvey found a way. Even though he wasn't talented, he still found a way. You gotta have the courage to find Steve Harvey and say, "Steve, sir, show me how you did it. Show me how you made it with no talent." Find a talentless comedian who made it and ask him, what do you have to do to get it? Even though I could tell you, it's either kiss ass or boys. Steve Harvey kissed. That's how he got it. Everybody thinks Steve Harvey some stand-up ass man. No, motherfucker, he kissed the old girl who owned TV One. He used to kiss her. That's how he had the radio show out here.
The criticism surrounding Steve Harvey didn't stop with Corey Holcomb, because more people connected to the entertainment world have also questioned how Steve handled relationships and success behind the scenes. Over the years, several celebrities and media figures have described Steve as someone who allegedly knew exactly how to climb the Hollywood ladder, even if it meant stepping over people along the way. Those accusations have followed him for years, but now they're suddenly getting fresh attention online. One of the strongest comments came from Cathy Hughes, the founder of Radio 1, the company that helped give Steve Harvey a major platform with his radio career. Cathy reportedly described Steve as one of the most disrespectful and ungrateful people she had ever dealt with in the business. That statement shocked many fans because Cathy Hughes is highly respected in media and usually stays professional when speaking publicly. So when her comments resurfaced, people immediately started wondering what really happened behind closed doors. Then Samuel L. Jackson's name entered the conversation, and things got even heavier. Samuel was very close to Bernie Mac and even spoke at Bernie's funeral after his passing in 2008. According to rumors circulating online, Samuel allegedly believed Marjorie Harvey had major influence over Steve's decisions during some of the biggest moments of his career. Some sources claim Marjorie encouraged Steve to think he deserved opportunities that were originally meant for Bernie, including roles connected to major Hollywood films like Ocean's 11. None of those claims have been publicly confirmed, but they've become a huge topic online. People close to Samuel have also hinted that he may have privately warned Steve about moving too fast with Marjorie. Fans started connecting this theory to Samuel's own marriage because his relationship story is completely different from Steve's. Samuel L. Jackson has been married to actress LaTanya Richardson Jackson for decades. The two met long before Samuel became a global movie star, back during their college years in Atlanta in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Through struggles, auditions, and financial hardships, they stayed together the entire time. Many fans admire Samuel because he never abandoned the woman who supported him before fame arrived. As his career exploded with massive films and worldwide success, he kept the same partner by his side instead of chasing a flashy Hollywood lifestyle. According to people around him, Samuel has always believed loyalty is one of the biggest reasons his marriage survived the chaos of the entertainment industry. Bernie Mac's relationship followed a very similar path, which is why some fans think Samuel respected Bernie so deeply. Bernie married his high school sweetheart, Rhonda Gore, back in 1977, long before he became a superstar comedian. During the years when Bernie struggled financially and worked his way through small comedy clubs, Rhonda reportedly stayed beside him through everything. Even after Kings of Comedy and The Bernie Mac Show turned him into a household name, Bernie never left his wife behind for fame or status. Bernie and Rhonda stayed married for 31 years until Bernie's passing in 2008, and many people saw their relationship as rare in Hollywood. Fans now compare that loyalty to Steve Harvey's personal timeline, and that comparison has become another major source of online debate. Critics often point out that Steve's love life changed dramatically once his career started growing. According to old stories, Steve first met Marjorie back in 1990 at a comedy club. The story says Steve immediately noticed her when she walked in late during one of his performances. Some versions of the story even claim Steve told her right there that he was going to marry her someday. At the time, however, Steve was still involved in another relationship, which is why people continue arguing about how everything unfolded afterward. As Steve's fame increased through television, comedy tours, and radio, his relationship with Marjorie eventually became one of the most talked about celebrity marriages in entertainment. But now, with old accusations resurfacing and more people speaking out, fans are looking back at the timeline very differently and questioning whether ambition, loyalty, and influence played a much bigger role than anyone originally realized.
Kid you not, the first word I ever said to her was, I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna marry you one day.
At first, Steve Harvey's story about meeting Marjorie sounds like something straight out of a movie. According to Steve, the moment he saw Marjorie walk into that comedy club back in 1990, he supposedly told her he was going to marry her one day. Fans used to call the story romantic and inspiring, but when people started looking closer at the timeline, the situation suddenly became way more controversial. The biggest issue is that Steve was already married to his first wife, Marsha Harvey, when he allegedly made that promise to Marjorie. That detail completely changed how some people viewed the story. Critics online began questioning why a married man would tell another woman he planned to marry her someday. Supporters defended Steve by saying relationships are complicated, but others felt the situation already showed warning signs from the very beginning. Back then, Steve was still trying to make it as a comedian and reportedly struggling financially while performing stand-up shows. According to old rumors and stories circulating online, Marjorie allegedly wasn't interested in settling down with Steve at that stage of his life because he had not yet reached success. Instead, she reportedly moved on and became involved in relationships with other men who were later connected to criminal activity and major drug investigations. Marjorie herself has never been convicted of crimes tied to those situations, but the stories continue following her years later. Meanwhile, Steve and Marsha were building a family together. The couple welcomed twin daughters, Brandy and Carly, along with their son, Broderick. But according to claims later made by Marsha, the marriage started falling apart because Steve allegedly cheated with multiple women while trying to rise in the entertainment industry. Marsha also claimed Steve left the relationship while she was still pregnant with their son, which became one of the most emotional accusations connected to his past. After the split, things reportedly turned ugly in court. Marsha allegedly had to fight Steve legally over financial support, including alimony and child support payments. Around that same period, Steve had already moved on with Mary Shackelford, who later became his second wife. For a while, Steve and Mary appeared to build a strong partnership while his career continued growing through television, radio, and comedy tours. But later years, Mary publicly shared painful claims about what happened after Marjorie re-entered Steve's life. According to Mary, Marjorie allegedly caused major problems inside the family and slowly influenced Steve's relationships with his own biological children. Mary claimed Steve pushed Marjorie to focus heavily on her children from previous relationships, while tension allegedly grew between Steve and parts of his original family. Those accusations caused huge reactions online because they involved personal family dynamics rather than regular celebrity gossip. According to stories shared by critics, Marjorie allegedly reconnected with Steve after realizing his career had finally reached another level. At that time, Steve was no longer a struggling comedian trying to survive club performances. He was becoming a television personality with growing fame, business opportunities, and serious money coming in. Meanwhile, Marjorie's second husband, Darnell Woods, had reportedly run into legal trouble and eventually ended up incarcerated. But there was one major complication. Steve was still married to Mary Shackelford, and they shared a son together named Wynton. Critics claim Marjorie allegedly began working her way back into Steve's life while his marriage to Mary was still active. None of these accusations have been fully confirmed publicly, but the rumors exploded once Mary began speaking openly about her experiences after the divorce. Steve eventually divorced Mary and married Marjorie in 2007. After the marriage, Steve also adopted Marjorie's 3 children, Morgan, Jason, and Lori, officially blending the family together. While many fans praised the move publicly, others sided with Mary after she claimed Steve abandoned the woman who stood beside him during difficult years before fame fully arrived. Mary later described how quickly everything changed once Marjorie entered the picture again. According to her, Steve allegedly distanced himself emotionally and financially, leaving her feeling completely pushed aside after helping support his career during key years of his rise to success. Those claims added another dramatic layer to an already messy Hollywood story that fans still debate heavily today.
When I think about how quickly he moved forward from me to Marjorie, that was disturbed.
The situation between Steve Harvey and his ex-wife Mary Shackelford became even more emotional once custody issues involving their son Wynton entered the picture. Out of all the accusations and drama surrounding Steve's personal life, this part hit especially hard for many fans because it involved family relationships and a child caught in the middle of a very public split. According to Mary's past statements, she believed Steve used his growing fame, financial power, and industry influence during their legal battles. Mary publicly claimed that Steve's celebrity status gave him advantages inside the court system that she felt she could not compete with. Those accusations sparked major reactions online because people immediately started debating whether wealth and public image can influence family court outcomes differently for celebrities compared to regular people. Mary alleged that after the divorce, her relationship with Wynton became increasingly strained and painful. She claimed Steve slowly distanced their son from her emotionally, and that communication between them became difficult over time. According to Mary, the situation was not simply about custody paperwork. She believed there was a larger effort happening behind the scenes that affected how Wynton viewed his own mother. Fans became even more shocked when old interviews resurfaced where Mary described feeling isolated from her son during certain periods after the divorce. She suggested that Steve's resources and legal team made it almost impossible for her to fight back effectively. Those claims created huge debate online, with some people sympathizing deeply with Mary, while others defended Steve and argued that the public does not know every detail of private family matters. Marjorie Harvey's name also continued appearing in discussions surrounding the custody situation. According to Mary, Marjorie allegedly influenced Steve's decisions regarding family relationships and encouraged him to prioritize their new blended family structure. Mary claimed she felt pushed out while Steve focused more attention on his new marriage and public image. None of those allegations have been officially proven in court, but they remain a major part of the ongoing controversy tied to the Harvey family story. Social media users especially focused on how quickly Steve embraced Marjorie's children after their marriage, while tensions with parts of his biological family reportedly continued growing. Steve publicly adopted Marjorie's children and often spoke proudly about their blended family in interviews and television appearances. While many fans admired that image, critics argued there may have been unresolved pain behind the scenes involving his earlier relationships and children. The public conversation became even more intense because Steve Harvey's career was exploding during that same period. Between daytime television, radio hosting, comedy tours, books, and business ventures, Steve had transformed into one of the biggest personalities in entertainment. Some people believe that success and public branding made it easier for his version of events to dominate public opinion at the time. Mary, on the other hand, often appeared emotional and frustrated during interviews, which caused mixed reactions from audiences. Wynton himself has mostly stayed out of public controversy over the years, avoiding direct involvement in the online drama surrounding his parents. Still, many fans continue discussing the old custody battle because of how personal and emotional the accusations became. Some viewers feel sympathy for everyone involved, while others believe the story reflects how messy celebrity divorces can become once fame, money, and public pressure enter the situation. What keeps the story alive online is the contrast between Steve Harvey's polished public image and the darker allegations connected to his personal life. On television, Steve is often seen giving relationship advice, discussing family values, and promoting positivity, but critics argue that stories from his past paint a far more complicated picture behind the scenes. Whether people believe Mary's claims or not, the accusations continue fueling debate years later because they touch on issues that feel very real to many families: custody battles, loyalty, influence, and emotional distance after divorce.
He took my Wynton from me. He turned my son against me, had me evicted from our house, thrown out. All the businesses, all the money, the cars. At a moment when I was down and devastated, he maneuvered everything. He maneuvered He manipulated the courts, everything against me. He went to court and under oath said that on his own he had built this whole thing by himself. And I just sat at the table and cried. I cried through the whole thing, and I fell apart.
According to claims made by Mary Shackelford, she believed Marjorie Harvey was playing a much bigger role behind the scenes than most people realized. Mary has suggested in past interviews and public statements that many of the painful decisions involving her divorce, family separation, and custody struggles were not made by Steve Harvey alone. Instead, she alleged that Marjorie had major influence over Steve's choices during that entire period. Mary claimed that after Marjorie fully entered Steve's life again, the atmosphere around the family changed dramatically. According to her version of events, communication became colder, tensions increased, and she slowly felt pushed further out of the picture. Mary described feeling like decisions were being made strategically behind closed doors, especially when it came to finances, family access, and emotional connections involving their son, Wynton. One of the most emotional accusations Mary made was the belief that Marjorie allegedly encouraged Steve to distance Wynton from his biological mother. That claim shocked many fans because it suggested the family conflict went far beyond a normal divorce disagreement. Mary implied that over time, Wynton's relationship with her became strained and complicated, and she believed outside influence played a major role in that change. Supporters of Mary argue that her story reflects the emotional pain many parents experience during high-profile custody disputes. They believe Mary genuinely felt isolated and powerless, while Steve's celebrity status and resources continued growing. Critics of Steve also point to how quickly his public image shifted into the perfect family man role shortly after marrying Marjorie, while Mary was left speaking out alone about what she claimed happened privately. At the same time, many fans strongly defend Steve and Marjorie, arguing there are always two sides to personal family conflicts. Some believe Mary's public interviews came from heartbreak and frustration after the divorce, rather than evidence of manipulation. Others argue that blended families naturally face emotional challenges, and that outsiders can never fully understand what happened inside a private household. Still, the rumors surrounding Marjorie's influence refuse to disappear. Online discussions often describe her as someone who allegedly understood power, image, and timing extremely well. Critics claim she knew exactly how to position herself beside Steve once his career reached another level of fame and financial success. Some even suggest Marjorie allegedly helped shape Steve's public transformation from stand-up comedian into polished television personality and relationship expert. The situation became even more controversial because Steve openly embraced Marjorie's children after their marriage, adopting them and frequently presenting their blended family as a success story in interviews and on television. While many viewers admired that public image, others questioned whether Steve's relationships with parts of his biological family suffered during that transition. Mary's accusations only made those questions grow louder online. Social media users continue debating whether Marjorie was unfairly turned into the villain of the story, or whether there may actually be truth hidden behind Mary's claims. Some fans think Marjorie became an easy target because celebrity wives often receive blame for relationship problems. Others believe too many similar accusations have surfaced over the years for people to completely ignore them. What also keeps this story alive is how emotional and personal it feels compared to regular Hollywood gossip. This is not just about career rivalry or celebrity drama. It involves family relationships, loyalty, trust, and a son caught between parents during a very public breakup. Those kinds of stories tend to stay with people much longer because they feel relatable, even outside celebrity culture. Years later, the Harvey family still presents a polished image publicly, but these old accusations continue resurfacing every time conversations about Steve's past relationships return online. Whether people believe Mary completely, partly, or not at all, her claims about Marjorie pulling the strings remain one of the most talked about and controversial parts of the entire story.
I know that as a mother, if I was ever in a position to where I had to be in charge of somebody else's child, I definitely make sure they have a great relationship with that child. But I just don't see how Marjorie, in particular, can call herself a mother to her own children and deliberately try to sabotage my relationship with my son. I don't really get that because personally, even if it was a vengeance vendetta thing, it's like, who did harm to?
But according to people who follow this entire situation closely, the drama supposedly didn't stop with Steve Harvey's marriage problems. Around that same period, Steve divorced Mary and reunited with Marjorie. Fans also noticed that his friendship with Bernie Mac seemed to completely fall apart. That timing has fueled years of rumors, speculation, and conspiracy theories online, especially among people who already believed there was tension between the two comedians behind the scenes. Some insiders and bloggers have claimed that Marjorie may have influenced Steve during that period and allegedly encouraged him to compete harder against Bernie professionally. None of these claims have been confirmed publicly, but the internet has continued connecting the dots because the breakdown in Steve and Bernie's relationship appeared to happen around major changes in Steve's personal life. Critics online argue the overlap feels suspicious, while supporters say people are simply forcing unrelated events together for drama. The story exploded even more after Katt Williams began making controversial comments about Hollywood power structures during interviews and comedy appearances. Katt has become known for openly questioning how the entertainment industry operates behind closed doors, especially when it comes to Black comedians and actors trying to become mainstream stars. His comments have triggered non-stop debates online because some people believe he exposes uncomfortable truths, while others think he intentionally speaks in exaggerated ways to spark controversy. One interview that really got people talking was Katt's appearance on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe. During that conversation, Katt discussed what he described as hidden systems inside Hollywood that allegedly pressure entertainers to follow certain expectations if they want major success. Fans immediately began analyzing every word from that interview and trying to connect his statements to famous comedians and celebrities. Among the theories circulating online, some viewers focused on Katt's comments about celebrity relationships and image management. According to Katt, certain entertainers supposedly end up surrounded by people who help shape and control their careers, public appearances, and personal decisions. After hearing those remarks, social media users quickly started dragging Marjorie Harvey into the discussion and speculating that she may have had major influence over Steve's business and personal life. It's important to note that these are internet theories and personal opinions, not proven facts. Still, that hasn't stopped people from debating them non-stop. Some fans believe Marjorie simply became a powerful partner who helped Steve elevate his image and brand as his career evolved. Others argue critics unfairly blame wives and partners whenever celebrity friendships collapse or careers change direction. At the same time, people who support Katt's perspective say Hollywood has always been full of hidden politics, strategic relationships, and image building behind the scenes. They point to old stories involving comedians competing for movie roles, TV deals, endorsements, and industry connections as proof that fame can seriously change personal relationships. In their view, Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey may have simply become casualties of that pressure. The conversation has also become tied to larger debates about authenticity in entertainment. Bernie Mac was often viewed as raw, fearless, and completely himself, while Steve Harvey gradually shifted into a polished television personality and motivational figure. Fans now compare those two paths constantly, with some claiming Steve adapted to Hollywood culture more aggressively, while Bernie stayed true to his original style. As these rumors continue spreading online, people are revisiting old interviews, comedy clips, and public appearances, searching for signs that the tension between Steve and Bernie was deeper than anyone realized at the time. Some believe there's still a hidden story the public has never fully heard, while others think internet speculation has blown everything far out of proportion. Either way, Katt Williams' comments reopened conversations many people thought were long buried, and now every old rumor connected to Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac, and Marjorie Harvey is being pulled back into the spotlight again.
I've never seen them have anything that I ever wanted. If you sign up for their program, you get a light-skinned, weird-faced wife that never do an interview. Listen, in 20 years, won't do an interview. Nobody's ever talked to her, and that she's never been interviewed anywhere. And now, understand, I'm not talking about one person. What I just told you applies to 7 people. How they all end up with that. That's part of what you get. I came in this business saying I was going to expose.
Katt Williams also took aim at the way Steve Harvey tells the story of his relationship with Marjorie, and that part of the conversation really got people talking online. According to Katt and many critics on social media, Steve often presents Marjorie as the woman who stayed loyal to him during his hardest struggles, but some fans quickly pointed out that the actual timeline raises a lot of questions. One major issue people keep bringing up is that Steve was already married to his first wife, Marsha Harvey, during the early years when he first met Marjorie. Back then, Steve was still trying to build his comedy career and reportedly struggling financially while performing stand-up shows across the country. Critics argue that the public love story sounds very different once people realize Steve already had a family at the time. Katt especially mocked the idea that Marjorie was always there holding Steve down during the difficult years. According to old stories and rumors that continue circulating online, Marjorie and Steve did not stay together during the period when Steve was still a struggling comic trying to survive in the entertainment industry. Instead, they reportedly went separate ways for years before reconnecting much later after Steve's career began taking off. That detail became a huge talking point because fans started comparing Marjorie's timeline to the stories of other celebrity wives who stayed beside their husbands before fame and fortune arrived. People often mention Samuel L. Jackson's wife, LaTanya, or Bernie Mac's wife, Rhonda, as examples of women who supported their husbands through years of financial hardship before success finally happened. Critics online argue that Steve's situation looked very different by comparison. Marsha Harvey's name also started resurfacing heavily during these discussions. Many fans pointed out that Marsha was the one who actually stood beside Steve during his earliest career struggles. She was there while Steve was still trying to make a name for himself in comedy clubs, and before television deals, radio success, and Hollywood opportunities changed his life. Supporters of Marsha argue she played a major role during the years when Steve had little fame or stability. According to claims made over the years, the marriage between Steve and Marsha eventually collapsed amid allegations of cheating and growing distance. Marsha later accused Steve of leaving the relationship while she was pregnant with their son, Broderick. Those accusations became even more controversial once people started comparing them to Steve's current public image as a relationship expert and motivational speaker. Katt Williams used that contrast to question how celebrity narratives are created and sold to the public. Fans who agreed with Katt argued that Hollywood often rewrites personal histories once celebrities become successful. In their view, the polished love story Steve and Marjorie present today leaves out painful details involving his earlier marriage and family struggles. Social media users especially reacted to the way Steve publicly praises Marjorie as his ride-or-die partner, while critics claim the woman who experienced the toughest years beside him was actually Marsha. Some fans believe Steve genuinely found happiness later in life and has the right to tell his story his own way. Others feel certain parts of the narrative intentionally ignore uncomfortable details from the past. The conversation also sparked larger debates online about loyalty, fame, and how success changes relationships. Many people questioned whether someone should receive credit for supporting a person before the grind if they were not actually present during the hardest years. Others argue relationships are complicated and people reconnect for different reasons all the time. No matter which side people take, Katt Williams' comments clearly reopened old wounds and brought Steve Harvey's relationship timeline back under a microscope. What once sounded like a smooth Hollywood love story is now being picked apart online, piece by piece, with fans questioning which version of events is actually closest to the truth.
Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am. You said that about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her, then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite history.
Now, with all these accusations and rumors flying around, a lot of people agree on one thing: Steve Harvey still has to take responsibility for his own decisions. Critics online continue saying that regardless of who influenced him, Steve was ultimately the person making choices involving his marriages, friendships, and career moves. Nobody forced him to leave relationships, distance himself from people, or handle situations the way he allegedly did. That's why many fans believe the blame cannot be placed entirely on Marjorie Harvey, even if some people think she had major influence behind the scenes. At the same time, the conversations surrounding Katt Williams' comments have caused people to look at celebrity relationships in Hollywood very differently. Katt's interview sparked non-stop debates because he suggested there may be hidden systems, expectations, and carefully managed public images tied to success in the entertainment industry. Whether people believe him fully or not, his comments clearly touched a nerve online because fans immediately started connecting his theories to multiple celebrities and public couples. One reason the topic keeps gaining attention is because people love looking for patterns. Social media users often compare stories involving comedians, actors, athletes, and entertainers who suddenly change their public image once they reach mainstream fame. Some fans believe Hollywood pressures celebrities to reinvent themselves socially, professionally, and personally in order to fit a certain brand. Others think people are reading way too deeply into normal relationship changes and career growth. Marjorie Harvey has become one of the biggest names attached to this debate because of how dramatically Steve Harvey's life appeared to shift after their relationship became official. Supporters say Marjorie helped Steve evolve into a more polished businessman and television figure. Critics argue the transformation came at the cost of old friendships, family relationships, and parts of Steve's earlier identity. That contrast is exactly why conversations about Bernie Mac, Mary Shackelford, and Steve's first marriage continue resurfacing over and over again. The Bernie Mac angle especially continues hitting fans emotionally because Bernie is still deeply respected in comedy culture. Many people remember him as authentic, fearless, and loyal to his roots. So when rumors spread suggesting jealousy, betrayal, or behind-the-scenes competition may have damaged his relationship with Steve Harvey, fans naturally became invested in finding out what really happened. Even years after Bernie's passing, the topic still sparks huge reactions online. Meanwhile, Mary Shackelford's accusations added another layer that made the story feel far more personal than typical celebrity gossip. Discussions about divorce, custody battles, blended families, and emotional distance between parents and children connect with real-life experiences many people understand. That's one reason the Harvey family drama keeps getting revisited. It mixes Hollywood fame with situations that feel relatable to everyday people. As for Katt Williams' controversial comments about programs in Hollywood, opinions remain completely divided. Some viewers believe Katt intentionally exaggerates things to entertain audiences and create viral moments. Others think he speaks carefully in coded language about real industry politics and pressures that outsiders rarely see. The truth is, nobody outside those circles truly knows what happens privately behind closed doors in Hollywood relationships and business deals. What's clear is that these stories continue generating massive conversations because they involve power, fame, loyalty, money, and image, topics people never stop debating when celebrities are involved. Every old interview, quote, or resurfaced rumor adds another layer to the discussion, and fans continue trying to piece together what was real versus what may have been exaggerated over time. At the center of it all are questions people still argue about today. Did Marjorie Harvey influence Steve's personal and professional relationships more than the public realized? Was the fallout with Bernie Mac deeper than fans originally believed? And are Katt Williams' theories about Hollywood influence completely off base, or do they reflect parts of an industry most people never get to see? One thing is certain, this conversation is far from over, and the internet keeps digging deeper every time new interviews, clips, or rumors resurface online.